In the competitive world of business, improving the conversion rate on your website is vital because there's no point spraying people onto your website with expensive marketing campaigns like you're shooting water out of a fireman's hose if when they land on your website they're not actually doing what you want them to do. They're not making inquiries, they're not buying things from you. So we're going to take you through 5 really simple ways that you can improve your conversion rate so you can try and earn more money in business. So tip 1 is to eliminate distractions from your website. We always tend to think that people read your website logically, that they go from the left to the right, like you'd read a book from the top to the bottom. The reality is they skim it and their eyes bounce around and it goes up, down, left, right. Now what you have to do is you have to have a normal usage of your website. What do I mean by that? People expect your logo to be on the top left. They expect the logo to be a clickable link that takes them to the homepage. They expect the navigation bar to be at the top with the main pages listed off that navigation bar. They expect a search function at the top right and potentially a chat function at the bottom right. So these are sort of normal website conventions that just make your website really usable, and you can break away from the norm, but your website's going to have to be really well designed if you do. But let's just make sure that you eliminate as much distractions as possible so that when people are using your website, it's really easy and really clear and simple for them to do exactly what you do. Let's dive into the laptop and I'll show you a couple of examples, the first one being Apple. Let's go. So as you can see here, Apple, it's slick, right? It's really slick. It's really simple. They've got an offer that's placed at the top here that will change from time to time. All they're talking about is their latest model of phone. They're talking about that iPhone 14 Pro. They're not talking about all the range of MacBooks and everything else. This is their top selling model. This is what they want to push. And there's just 2 calls to action. Do you want to learn more or do you want to buy? After that, if people decide that they don't want to and they want to scroll down, they want to see more information, they can. But you can see high quality creatives. Everything is really crisp, really clear. But importantly, above the fold, this is the bit of your website that people see before they have to do any scrolling. They're just giving people 2 options. Do you want to learn more about the iPhone 14 Pro, or do you want to just buy it right now? Let's take a look at Xbox. So very similar. Let's just accept those cookies quickly. Like I said, with your website sort of layout, they've got a clickable link at the top. They've got their logos at the top. They've got their navigation bar. They've got the search parameters at the top. They don't have a chat function, but sometimes you will see that lower down. But all they're talking about is their latest model, the Xbox Series S. They're not talking necessarily about all these bits. Your eyes are drawn to learning more about the Xbox Series X. So you can see that it is dead simple. Both designs are dead simple, and I could go on and on and on. And if you look at any of the major brands, they'll all be following these philosophies. So that's the first really big step for you there, is to eliminate as much distractions, particularly above the fold, as you can. So one thing that you can do is you can use heat maps. Now a heat map on your website, you can use some fancy software like Hotjar. I say it's fancy, it's really easy to install, a simple bit of code that goes into your website, and they do have free versions, and they'll allow you to see how people are on average using your website, because it will track where their mouse scans. And most people, a lot of people, their mouse will follow where their eyes are. It's a really weird thing that humans do, but that is how many of us use our websites. And you'll be able to see how people track through your websites, which pages they go to, etc. So you can have a look at that, and you can use that data to essentially make that user journey and that customer flow a lot simpler and a lot more effective. So big tip number 2 is to remove as much friction as possible from the booking process. I can't tell you how much pain we have to go through in our business when we design lovely little advertising campaigns, Google advertising campaigns, drive loads more traffic to websites, only for it to not make some real measurable differences to the online sales. And the reason often for that is the conversion rate optimization, because there's too much friction in the buying process. So when you're creating a buying process, if you're doing products, think Amazon. I bought something accidentally off Amazon the other day because my cards are all automatically loaded into it. There's a button that said buy now. It didn't put anything in my cart. It just said your items have been dispatched. right? So one click, one buy. We need to be making that as easy as possible. A common thing that people do in order to add unnecessary friction into their buying journey is that they ask somebody to sign up as a member before they can actually transact with you. So people just want to hand over their money and they want to then receive the product. But what we're asking them to do is give us their name, their address, their date of birth, the business that they work for, their URL, all variety and manner of other information. Then we want to send them an email. We want them to verify the email before we actually ask for their card details and then transact with them. We're adding an unnecessary barrier in the way of transacting with them. And we had this with an education provider who was selling adult education courses. And when we mapped out their booking process, they had a 9-step booking process that took them off and on to their website. When we restricted that booking process to simply, what is your name, what's your email address, and then can we have your bank details to book your course, their booking rate went up exponentially to the point where Facebook advertising that we were running for them went from booking about 10% of their courses to over 90% of their courses. It really will make that much of a difference. So map out the steps that somebody has to take before they can work with you, before they can submit themselves as a lead, make an inquiry, before they can actually buy your products, and remove as much of the friction, anything that is unnecessary, as possible. This school, they were asking, at this university I should say, they were asking people for all manner of information just for data recording purposes. And what I had to get through to them was, it doesn't matter, where somebody lives if they're taking your course. You don't need to ask somebody their address. You don't need to ask them their sexuality, their ethnicity, their marital status. They didn't need to harvest all this information. It added no value to them, and it was putting a barrier in the way for them doing business with an individual. Big tip number 3 is to increase your conversion rate with captivating pop-ups. Now, I know what you're thinking. Pop-ups, they're irritating, they annoy people, and they can be, but they do, the evidence displays, increase your conversion rate by anywhere between 4 and 10% if they're well designed and if they're relevant and actually add to the customer journey. So take a look at this one from Out and About. This is a customer that we've been working with. They've got this pop-up in the bottom left. Now, it's not irritating, it's not in the way, it's not this great big thing. It's very easy to click off and minimize it or get rid of it if you want, but it does show the products in active use and it's there on the homepage. And we know that that homepage converts really, really well. So think about what it is that you can have in a pop-up. We have another client that's in the mental health space. They have a device that helps treat mental health. And we have a pop-up which just tells people that they can take their free quiz that determines their anxiety levels. This really helps people. If somebody's on the website and they're suffering with anxiety and they want to get the official measurement of that anxiety, taking a quiz, then they can do it. And it's one click and they can go through to that landing page and they can take that quiz. So have a think about that. Captivating pop-ups, they can be little, they can be big, they can do all manner of things. They can just promote a latest offer or latest product, but they definitely do work. Tip 4 is to have a really clear call to action, CTA. What do you want that person to do when they're on that website? Do you want to click the button? Do you want them to learn more? Like, think back to that Apple clip. They had learn more and they had buy. And those buttons were above the fold. So they didn't have 10 buttons. They didn't have 5 buttons. They just had 2. Do people want to learn more about the product or do they want to buy it? So that call to action that you have, whether you want that to be contact, request a brochure, contact us, subscribe, buy now, whatever it might be, you have to be crystal clear about that and have a clear button above the fold. We were working with a website the other day that their call to action button was text. Now the text was in blue, it was slightly brighter, it was slightly bolder than the rest, slightly bigger than the rest of the text, but it wasn't immediately obvious that that was a clickable button that was going to allow people to make contact and book in a consultation. It has to be crystal clear. Don't make them think. That is a real important principle when you're designing your website, is don't make people think. If people are stopping and thinking too much, your website's failing. It should be really clear what the website's for and what you want them to do. And the last tip that's incredibly important, tip number 5, is to boost trust with testimonials and reviews. You see this all the time on websites. You scroll down a little bit below the fold, and there might just be something really simple like a list of logos of well-known brands that somebody's worked with. Because if you're a marketing agency and you've worked with the likes of Coca-Cola, for example, and their logo is on your website, as well as the NHS and the government and all these other really well-known brands, then that's going to give people reassurance of the type of people who've had trust in you, therefore they can have trust in you. Also, if you're in a business that has displayed certain results, like if you're in a trade and you're working with customers, delivering some sort of trade like roofing or plumbing or fencing, etc., and you have your testimonials, your reviews listed on your website, probably no more than 3. You could have something like a scrolling bar that goes through. Then this is a good, reassuring sign that you know what you're doing, you've got happy customers, and that people will then feel safe to work with you. So that's it. Those are the 5 big tips for conversion rate optimization. These are the basics. So these are things that you can get right, and it will be a process of refinement. You will have to test different things and have a look, at your conversion rate. How many visitors are you converting? How many inquiries are you generating? So you're going to have to know your stats, know your numbers, but if you implement those 5 or even just a few of them, I guarantee you're going to improve your user experience and you're going to improve the amount of people that are converting with your website. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more digital marketing content that's brought to you by an agency that are in the trenches every single day. A lot of these YouTuber bums, they're just YouTubers. They're producing digital marketing content and they're not actually in the trenches delivering the work every day. So this is what we're trying to bring to you, is raw, authentic stuff that works that you can do on your own at home.